writes the president. The second round of trade talks, meanwhile, set to resume at 9 a.m. this morning in Washington. Joining me right now is Heritage Foundation trade economist Tori Whiting and CIT Fixed Income Advisor, Senior Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager Bryce Doty. Great to have you both with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good morning, Maria.
First, let me get your reaction to all of this. Bryce, your reaction to what we're seeing in terms of these two countries in a trade fight.
Right. Whenever you're in a negotiation like this, it always seems like when you get towards the end, it's this darkest before the dawn kind of moment. And maybe that's what this is all about, where maybe it takes this kind of digging in on both sides before we have a catharsis and a meeting of the minds. But from the outside looking in, it just seems like a big mistake from China's perspective. Maybe it plays well politically at home there, but to the rest of the world, it seems like for the first time, China is faced with the question, do we steal or not steal? Yeah. And this kind of pullback, that can easily backfire on them because it sends the wrong message.
And Tori, I mean, you're looking at the impact on the economies. What's your take on what this is going to do to the U.S. economy relative to what it's going to do to the Chinese economy?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Maria. First of all, we need to call a spade here and say that these tariffs are taxes on American families and businesses, and there's no doubt about that. And I think that what we need to see here is that we should not be punishing ourselves in an attempt to get China to change its policies. The Heritage Foundation has been recommending for months and months now that we have alternative ways of addressing our issues with China. First of all, that's the Treasury Department sanctioning individuals and companies that steal U.S. intellectual property.
Yeah, but what are you going to do in terms of the stealing of intellectual property and in terms of the forced transfer of technology? I get it that it's a tax. I get it that it's going to make things more expensive. No doubt about it. It may very well cut into economic growth, which is really what I'm asking you. How significant a cut is that going to be? But what do you do? I mean, China's been a bad actor for a long time.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct, and the president has pointed out that there are things that happen in China in terms of trade that need to be fixed. I think that this will have a marginal impact on the U.S. economy. I mean, we saw last year that we had a couple of great quarters, but economic growth didn't break 3%. After the revisions down to 2.9%. Now, China, I think their slowdown is partially related to the trade war, but mostly related to already a slowdown that's been happening for several years in China because managed economies don't work.
Yeah, year over year, I think it was, about 3%. But this quarter, this first quarter was certainly a lot stronger than people thought at 3.2%. So you are seeing a pretty solid situation in the U.S. economy. Does that change, Bryce? What's your take? These higher tariffs sending tremors certainly through Asia and Europe. The increase is hitting thousands of Chinese products. But is it the Chinese economy that's really going to take the hit as opposed to the U.S. economy?
Yeah, I think they are, and the Chinese have taken this anything it takes type of attitude to try and combat that. An interesting element on the bond side would be like, well, what if we do that? What if this is the excuse maybe the Fed needs to cut? I don't think that's the most likely scenario because of the animosity between the president and the Fed. But it would definitely strengthen our negotiating position because clearly economically any number that you use to say how much it's going to hit us, you have to take it times anywhere from 3 to 5 to get the magnitude of how much it hits China.
The